how do you see this AFC North battle going between the Steelers and the Browns this week?
Well, every game in the AFC North hasn't necessarily been a really tight one. The Bengals kind of ran away with both games against the Ravens. Obviously, the Steelers have been struggling all year. The Browns are up and down, but are also one of the most injured teams in the NFL in terms of their starters. I mean, you had Odell, Jarvis, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, now Baker Mayfield. So I mean, like you pretty much have all of their best players hitting the IR at some point or dealing with something of significance. And then you go and you look at the. Am I missing a team here? Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. No, I said them all. And then you go and you look at Pittsburgh, and it's like, well, they're just struggling. And I mean, like overall, their defense is obviously one of the more dominant defenses in the league in terms of getting to the quarterback and finding ways to create turnovers. Not that they're one of the highest turnover teams in the league like the Colts are, but they find a way to make game changing plays when it matters the most. So I'm really looking at this game like, okay, can Baker is Baker playing? Is Nick playing? Is Odell going to be targeted? And then when you look at the offensive side of the ball for Pittsburgh, is Ben going to play like a 50-year-old quarterback? Are they going to be able to run the ball? Is the offensive line going to be able to stop Myles Garrett? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of question marks into this game. So it's hard for me to definitively go in here and pick a winner or even give a reason as to why I think one is going to. Pittsburgh gets Deontay Johnson back, +1 for Pittsburgh. But Nick Chubb could end up coming back for Cleveland, another +1 for fucking Cleveland. I don't necessarily know. I think the only deciding factor that's going to lead me to lean towards Pittsburgh is if Baker plays or not. I don't know if Case Keenum can go out there and lead this team the way that it's constructed right now with all of the injuries that they're dealing with into a victory. And I mean, I don't necessarily know who's home. I know that makes a difference as well. Who's home, by the way?
The Cleveland's at home.
So that definitely plays into fact of who we believe could come out of this game. But I mean, at the end of the day, in order for Pittsburgh to be successful, the offensive line's got to play better. Ben's got to realize it's not deep ball or bust like he's pretty much done his entire career. And then you got to keep the turnovers to a minimum because we all know that Myles Garrett is a force to deal with and can get to the quarterback pretty much at will. And then the secondary of Cleveland is no joke either. So I'm leaning towards Pittsburgh just because Baker is a big question mark. But if Baker plays, I can see this being an even flip.
Okay. So I'm going to give the edge to the Steelers, and here's why. So when I look at this game as a whole, it really is just defined by the amount of injuries that both teams are really going through at this current moment in time. But the main injury for me that I'm focusing on is Baker. And Baker's been dealing with that shoulder issue for weeks on end at this point. And I just don't know how viable he's going to be, even if he does play in this game. And the one thing that the Steelers have been very good this season is bringing pressure against opposing quarterbacks. And we saw that take place against Geno Smith and the Seahawks. Granted, the Seahawks aren't that good of a team, but still, be able to get 4 or 5 sacks in that game against Seattle, I think that was an impressive performance from the Steelers' defense. And when I look into this matchup when they face the Browns this week, granted, they do get Deontay Johnson back. They did lose Juju Smith-Schuster for the year. But when I look at the team as a whole, they're just dealing with less injuries at the key positions that really matter. And when I look at the Browns are dealing with issues with Jarvis Landry is questionable for this game. We don't know if Nick Chubb is going to be 100% in this game. Even if he does play, he's probably only going to be about 85, maybe 90% on what he's typically being as far as being 100% healthy. And with Baker, it's just it comes down to injuries, and I really think this game is just defined by how many injuries both teams are currently going through. But I think with the Steelers, they're dealing with a less amount of injuries that really impact the most important position, which is the quarterback. Even though that Big Ben, he looks like to be on his last leg this year, he's not that hurt compared to Baker. Baker is really dealing with that shoulder issue, and I think it's going to hinder him even if he does play in this game. I think Baker's going to be dealing with that for the rest of the year, and probably is going to get some sort of off-season surgery after the season is over with. But when it comes to this game in particular, I'm going to give the edge to the Steelers. I just think they're the healthier team at this point. And granted, we're only in October. And if teams are dealing with injuries this badly, like the Browns are, it's going to be tough for the Browns to really be able to get any sort of rhythm as far as getting wins are concerned. But I'm going to say that the Steelers, they pull this one out on the road. I think it's going to be a relatively close game. I don't think both teams are going to crack 30 points. I think this is going to be this is going to be a game that's going to be mostly held in the 20s. I'm going to say the Steelers win this one like 24-20. I think this is one of those grimy, gritty AFC North battles that's going to take place. But I think the Steelers are going to get the edge. And it's simply just because I think the Steelers are a healthier team at this point.